to today's report, the 11th of April 2025. So what's in store for us today? Bitcoin at the crossroads, macro shocks, liquidity surges, and the illusion of decoupling. Now, Bitcoin on April 2nd, 2025, opened at the approximately 85,227.68 and closed at 85,652.07. Now, by why I mentioned specifically April the 2nd, we all know that that was the day which Donald Trump announced the tariffs, right? The worldwide tariffs. So by April 7, it had fallen to a low of 74,496.09, marking a decline of about 13% from the April 2nd high price. Now, as of April 8, Bitcoin has shown some recovery, trading around 80,858, which is still approximately 5.1% lower than the April 2nd opening price, right? At the same time, the S&P 500 experienced a significant drop of approximately 16% since April 2nd, entering bear market territory. The Nasdaq composite also faced substantial declines, with major tech stocks like Tesla, Nvidia, and Apple experiencing losses. We have all seen that already happened in the past week, no? So there has been speculation that Bitcoin was beginning to decouple from the US stock market as it didn't decline as sharply as expected during the 2nd April decline. However, any optimism was short-lived when Bitcoin dropped to 74,496.09 low 5 days later, right? So that is one thing that I want to talk about. A lot of people say that just because it didn't drop as much at the couple, but sometimes there's a lag factor in traders wait and see, but they don't see any real buyers, and then the sellers just came in and that was it. So then on April 9, 2025, US President Donald Trump announced a 90-day pause on most new tariffs, maintaining a 10% baseline tariff while sharply raising tariffs on Chinese imports to 125%. Now, this move sparked a global rally, with major equity markets across the US, Europe, and Asia posting strong gains. So in response, Bitcoin rebounded from a low of 74,605 to 81,866. Okay, so let's look at some supporting data for Bitcoin. Okay, now first of all, derivatives and sentiment. I'm using CoinGlass data. Now, open interest part of it, the total Bitcoin futures open interest was reported at 25 billion on April the 2nd, 2025. Now, this reflects significant institutional interest. We want to look back when it was really, really bad. How was it? Okay. Now, if you look at the funding rates, right? The funding rates for Bitcoin perpetual swaps was 0.01% on April 2nd. Now, this indicates a small premium for holding long positions. So that also shows that even though it's that situation, it was bad, but still overall you still have it was still a positive number. And most important, the other thing was the long-short ratios. The long-short ratios on major exchange was 1.2 on April the 2nd, and this also suggests a slight bullish bias among traders. So in general, so far, what we have seen in terms of derivatives and sentiments, it's still a slight leaning towards still slight bullishness inside there. Whether this will change or not in the coming week, we don't know. But at that point in time when it was really bad, the expectations of the tariff announcements, it was still showing slight bullishness. Okay, so let's look at the overall macroeconomic fundamentals then. Okay, how is it like? Now, when you talk about macroeconomics, we have to look at the money supply, right? So we are looking at the M2 money supply. As of February 2025, the US M2 supply, money supply, was approximately 21.67 trillion, and it shows a modest increase from previous months. The increase in M2 suggesting growing money supply, which could have implications for inflation and monetary policy decisions. So with more money available, investors have extra cash, right, to spend or invest. Some of these may flow into Bitcoin, pushing its price higher. Now, when M2 rises, it usually means the central bank is being more supportive. This creates a risk-on mood where investors feel more confident buying assets like stocks and crypto. Okay. Other than that, we have the stablecoin liquidity trends to look at. In terms of market capitalization, stablecoin markets cap rose by 9.61% between January and April 2025, reaching 233 billion. Tether led with 144 billion cap, capturing 63% of the total stablecoin market share. Now, if you look at this chart, I've been collecting every time there is a print that you can see. Now, look at the March. A total of 1.3 billion USDT was printed, whereas for USDC, it was 3.2 billion. And for the Euro stable coin, there was 61 million printed. Now, so far in April, until mid-April, they have already printed 160 million for USDT and 433 million for USDC, right? So the stable coin printing is still ongoing so far, potentially providing additional support for Bitcoin's price stability and future appreciation. We have seen this whenever it comes down, printing until there is that pushing. So this is ongoing. If the market expects this to, Bitcoin to come down all the way, and we are moving into the bear market, what is this printing for? Okay. So because if you say this is not for Bitcoin, then other crypto assets would have been moving up, but we are not seeing it. So there is this possibility. It's not 100%, you have to admit that, but there's this possibility that this money is being kept on the sidelines and waiting to be deployed at the right time. Okay, so watch out for that. So as a conclusion, Bitcoin's recent price movement suggests that it remains susceptible to macroeconomic events. So the talks of decoupling, as I don't think is relevant. So like this tariff, it does affect Bitcoin at this current moment. So I still think it hasn't decoupled from the S&P 500. The continued correlation with traditional market implies that further volatility in equities could impact Bitcoin price in the near term, unless we are near the bottom, then that's a different case. So we now have a 90-day window for countries to reach trade agreements with the US. So this is the key point. If one by one nations successfully strike deals that satisfy both sides, the US and that country, this could create a supportive foundation for both the US stock market and Bitcoin to move higher. Okay, we have 90 days. We have seen Donald Trump doing that U-turn. And it also, you can't discount the fact that it came from pressure from both sides, including his party and the opposition party. And he has always said, yes, I always want to negotiate. That's why I did delay this and give chance for people to negotiate. So we have 3 months right now, right? So my thought is this: if we have all those major economies like India coming in saying that, okay, we have discussed this, fine, done, no problem. Europe coming in saying the same thing, okay, we have discussed, we are agreeable for this is the right one, then there will be certainty in the market, and investors like certainty. So there is a possibility that the market could have bottomed and the Bitcoin as well. So it may make a new low, not a problem. Okay, 74,000, that was the area that we were looking at. That's one more lower area. I'll review later when it comes to the charts. Then we can see from there, any impulsive move could mark the beginning of the next bull trend. There is this possibility there, because the expanding M2 money supply and growing stablecoin markets capitalization could provide a favorable environment for Bitcoin's appreciation. Okay, so with that, that's the fundamental report for today.